welcome back to Does the Shoe Fit? I'm our host, Taylor, and this is Uyen that we have again joining us. Today's topic is the Barbie movie that everyone has been talking about. Everyone's been watching. I mean, it's a huge thing going on right now.
Yeah.
So we just wanted to dig in a little bit about it, about the mental health aspects of this movie, and just some of like our ideas, like as a therapist, and our thoughts on it.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's dig in.
Yeah. Well, did you grow up with Barbie?
I did grow up with Barbie.
Yeah.
But you know what's funny? So Weird Barbie.
Yeah.
That was what I did to the Barbies. I was a very big, like, let me chop off their hair, let me throw them, like the splits thing.
Let me, like, crack their legs.
100%.
Yeah.
Yep. I did that more often. I think because I had a brother. So, like, me and him, like, I'd force him to play Barbie, but we would essentially play, like, Extreme Barbie is what we called it.
Yeah. So you knew Barbie. You had a connection with Barbie. What was your... Because you watched it fairly late than I did. I feel like I was part of, like, the first wave.
You were.
And then... You just watched it this weekend.
I just watched it this weekend.
With everyone's opinion already.
Already out, yep.
For me, I didn't grow up with Barbie at all.
Oh, wow.
This is not like...
Are you a Bratz?
No, I wasn't allowed to have dolls growing up.
Oh.
I don't think I told you this at all. But this is nothing to do with Barbie or mental health or whatever. But I grew up with my grandma. My grandma raised me because mom and dad had to work a lot. And my grandma was super superstitious.
I love this.
I couldn't understand when I was younger. I remember throwing a fit one day because we were at Family Dollar and all I wanted was this particular Barbie doll. And my aunt says, no, grandma's not going to let you have that. And I cried. And I was like, that's all I want. I don't want anything else but this Barbie doll. And it was cheap. It was from Family Dollar. So it was like, $5? And I was like, this is all I want. It's not that much money. Whatever it could be, right? But then my aunt was like, no, you can't have it. I think I ended up settling with like a puzzle that I got from Family Dollar instead.
Okay.
But later on when I found out, and this is from my dad or my aunt, but she was like, grandma growing up, and she grew up in the countryside of Vietnam. Apparently there was like a tale of this haunted doll. And then since then, my grandma never let my aunties have dolls. And because I lived with my aunt and grandma, I never had dolls.
Wow.
Yeah, so I had stuffed animals. That was fine for
she thought they were possessed.
Yeah, she was afraid the potential.
The potential of being possessed.
So that's why, and also Chucky also came into my, like, field of consciousness, and I was like, I'm good with dolls.
I'm good!
So I didn't really grow up with Barbie. I watched the shows, like on Nickelodeon used to have, like, movies about Barbie and stuff like that, but I walked in, because I was the first wave, I didn't know much about it. Like, I honestly thought it was going to be... Have you seen that movie with Lindsay Lohan and Tyra Banks, Life Size?
Yes!
I thought it would be something like that. I thought it would be super cheesy, super...
I think it kind of was cheesy.
Yeah. So I did come in with, like, no expectations. I actually had super low expectations for the movie.
Okay.
What was... Because I know you came in probably with, like...
Oh, my God.
There's a lot of drama-ish.
Yeah, I came in with people being like, this is the best movie I've ever seen in my life. Like, oh my God, I'm obsessed. I've seen it 3 times. I cried 8 times. And I'm like, whoa. Like, okay. I also personally have very different movie tastes than the general public, and I knew I was going to not think of it in that way.
Okay.
It's just not my kind of movie.
What kind of movie do you usually lean towards?
Action and horror.
Okay.
So, I did enjoy the action-ish part of it, and I did enjoy the songs in I thought it was really fun. But other than that, I just kind of knew it was going to be like a...
Yeah.
This is going to have a statement, and I'm going to hear it, and it's going to be there.
Because it has an agenda.
It has an agenda.
People's agendas on the movie, so I was curious, like, when you were watching it, like, what was going through.
I knew what it was going to be.
Yeah.
And I had that expectation. And honestly, like, if we weren't doing the podcast on this movie, I wouldn't have watched it in the movie theater. I would have waited for it to come out. Because it's just not my thing.
Yeah. Well, that's just... And people know, too, is, like, we don't come from a bias, like, we love this movie, everything else, we just, like, it's very... Right. We just... We know Barbie, it's just... We just watched it and just see what it is.
And I can see how people really liked it and really related to it and felt like it was really good. I think those people, like, really connect to, like, the Barbie, and those are a lot of the teenagers that I work with, and so, like, I'm not in that era of my life anymore. Yeah. Like, I don't need to... I've gotten past all the stuff that basically it comes up in that movie, so I feel like, to me, I was like... It's not hitting my heart as much as it may other people who are, like, living in that moment right now. And I can see how it could hit the hearts of people who are living in those moments are feeling those feelings. And
Yeah. Well, even with my low expectations coming in the movie, it blew my socks. I really liked it.
You're so funny.
One, I was so happy it wasn't a Tyra Banks. One, I love the movie, Life Size, Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah.
My childhood. But I came in thinking that, Margot Robbie was gonna be this ditzy, which she kind of was.
She was stereotypical Barbie.
I thought it would be like she was actually gonna be a Barbie doll, and then a spell happens. And that was kind of like my preconception of what doll movies were gonna be like. But I love the spiel. I know I talked to you about the whole Oppenheimer Barbie fiasco
which
that was
I didn't
happening.
know any of this. Yeah. So that was very interesting.
When I like something, like I get into it. I think
love
you noticed.
Yes.
But I was telling you and I found this out after watching the movie too, which I really appreciate because I feel like I like watching watching movies where
without that.
Yeah, without like that preconceived like notion of what's going on. But what I found out, and Barbie and Oppenheimer, there were so many memes coming out, right? And you can tell going to theaters, like who was watching Barbie and who was probably watching Oppenheimer.
Yep.
One of the reasons why, what I found out was Christopher Nolan, huge director. He did, I butchered his name last time I talked to you about it, but he did.
So that's who it is.
Yeah,
okay.
he did Inception.
I know Chris Nolan.
Yeah, he did Dark Knight.
Yep.
There was another one, Inception, and he was signed with Warner Brothers, so he was a Warner Brothers bro.
Gotcha.
You know, and he made box office like Inception, huge movies. But but during COVID, one of his last movies with Warner Brothers, Tenet.
I love it. I like that movie actually.
They apparently screwed him over with that movie. Like they apparently dropped the ball marketing or whatever. And so out of revulsion, he left Warner Brothers and went to Universal. So Barbie is a Warner Brothers movie. Oppenheimer is Universal. And so allegedly, reportedly, I don't know.
To the internets.
Warner Brothers did it on purpose, dropping the Barbie movie, the same time at Oppenheimer in order to get back at Nolan, because how he left was apparently really messy. And that's why one of the reasons too of Barbie, I think if anything, it's the reason why I love pop culture. I think it's almost like a symbiotic thing where like pop culture is a good representation of how our society is, but I also think pop culture also like shapes our society. You know, it's
almost a cycle.
Yeah. But the marketing from Barbie is the craziest I've ever seen someone market before.
I know.
It's everywhere. It's to the point that if I see pink, I think of Barbie.
Yeah.
And that's almost like the brainwashing a little bit. Yeah.
Those people whose job it was to market Barbie hire them for everything because that was smart.
There was an article that I read where like Barbie drained like a specific color pink. It was like this fluorescent pink, and because of the movie, that color pink was like at a decline globally because of the movie. Whoa. Because of the marketing of it.
Was that a decline or an incline?
There's a shortage of the pink. Because they used it so much because of the movie.
So like the products being sold were increasing so much that they didn't have like the fabrics for it.
Yeah. And like, I don't know, it's just, I think I told you this, it's like Barbie, they spent $150 million making the movie, and they made it they spent another $150 million just on marketing.
Wow.
Like if you go to Malibu, they have like a whole mansion that's pinked out.
Wow.
They do like random like pops up for Barbie.
Wow.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
But one of the alleged things is Warner Brothers getting back at Christopher Nolan. That's why they're pushing it so much, because they wanted to outshine Oppenheimer. But instead there was like, they didn't expect this like, oh, we'll just watch both of them.
Right.
Yeah.
Barbenheimer.
Yeah.
Backfired on Warner Brothers.
It's little things like that where that's what kind of gets me to like, I think I appreciate that I saw the movie before seeing all of this unravel, but it's, I don't know, it's like little quirks that you don't really think about with like a little Barbie movie. But
with a little Barbie movie that ended up being bigger than I think.
Well, just I was telling you this too, is like with the movie industry right now, with the writers strike, and the actors strike now too, they have to get really creative with marketing, because Blue Beetle, that's a new DC movie coming out. And this is a new thing. He's like a Latino, like superhero, all that jazz, that representation.
Nice.
He can't
work.
No, he can't market his movie.
Oh, that's rude.
He can't do. what's it called, like not protest, but like he can't do interviews, he can't go to like these live things because of the strike that's happening right now. So marketing's
It's kind of unfair.
Yeah, well, that it's one of the reasons why is how Hollywood's going and AI and payments and all that stuff. So I don't know when this podcast's gonna strike. I mean, not strike, but like drop. But it's been like 50 days ish of the strike where they just all the writers walked out.
Wow.
And actors are saying that I'm not gonna promote anything.
I think that's also why, so this is like very random and not at all about Barbie, but I
know, I was swaying a little bit.
I follow an author who I've been really hoping gets, like, she got Hulu TV rights for her book series.
Yeah.
And this has been in the works forever, and like those who are fans like ACOTAR, so it's A Court of Thorns and Roses, and like I'm obsessed with that book and that series, and I've been reading. Like, everybody has been on the edge of their seat waiting, because it's been going on for a while, but it seems like she's moving back to New York, which is bad because she moved to LA to work on these scripts. And so people are thinking that because of the writer strikes and everything, like, we're going to have to wait on that too. And it's already been like 5 years. Like, it's very sad because there's a lot of cool things that aren't happening.
Movies takes forever to make. With the Barbie movie, it took like 4 years to make. Because in the beginning, it actually filtered through so many writers. In the beginning, I think she's an actor, Emma Stiefel, or no.
Amanda Seyfried.
That's her name. She was originally cast to play Barbie. Because Barbie was gonna be, because she's more on it was supposed to be like a body positivity spiel on Barbie. That's why she was gonna be played as Barbie. But then something happened, the ball got dropped, and then it cycled through another writer and director, and that's where Margot Robbie came into play.
I thought I saw an interview where Margot Robbie was always involved, so that's why I think she was the producer of it and then became Barbie. Something like that. Yeah. I could totally be wrong. This was a singular video that I saw on Facebook like a month ago.
It's okay. What was your main themes? Because I told you my main themes earlier, and I'll say it again.
Oh, you're going to say it again?
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like with main themes of what I thought of with Barbie.
Because there's a lot. You could take
away a lot. There's a
lot.
Like, part of it I feel like was a mental health thing with, sad Barbie, like, what did they say? Nihilistic thoughts Barbie, something like that. Existential crisis. It didn't have as much of a body image as I thought it was going to. It was there.
It talked about, like, the flat feet and all that jazz, but...
Yes. Yeah. But I don't even know, like...
The only time they really mentioned, from what I remember, is when... when the daughter called her, like, fascist?
Oh,
like, she talked about how Barbie has affected the body positivity or whatever, like...
In a negative way.
Yeah.
Right. And, like... my favorite, which I thought was really funny, and I'm glad they called this out in the movie, is like there's a part where Margot Robbie's Barbie is crying because she is like, I'm ugly, I'm not good enough, blah blah blah, and the voiceover, the narrative is like, Margot Robbie was not the right person to cast for this point, and I was like, thank you, because
she's stunning,
and it's stunning. Like I almost, part of me was like, is this really helpful? Because they did have some other different looking Barbies, but they were all relatively pretty. Like, where are the normal looking people?
I think that's supposed to be Weird Barbie. Weird Barbie is essentially normal looking.
That sucks. Why is that weird? Like, shouldn't that be normal? Like, I get the point, because the point is showing that is just making that point, right? But at the same time, it's like, everybody in that movie was pretty. Like, where are the normal looking people?
Yeah.
Like, even the daughter, even the mom, like, gorgeous. Like, they're all super pretty, super, like, they're skinny. Like, it's just not, like, I don't know. I almost thought that maybe, like, it'd be interesting if, like, the movie took it differently, where, like, Margot Robbie's Barbie, like, I don't know, gained weight and it looked like normal, and then she loved herself for that, instead of it being like, no, she's still, like, drop dead gorgeous, has no cellulite, like, just
I was watching an interview about the director. Her name is Jean I can't remember, but she also did, like, Pretty Little Women, Tiny Women, something like that.
Little Women,
and then she did, like, Lady Bird. Like, she's pretty, like, in the industry. Her idea was the idea of, like, we learned more about ourselves through playing with Barbie. So she wanted to kind of flip that switch where Barbie's gonna learn more about herself through other
Humans.
people. Because
That makes sense.
watching the movie and then also taking a step back and seeing other people's reviews and stuff, like they've been comparing Barbie to like Black Panther.
Whoa.
And then because Barbie essentially is this genre called, I think it's called like meta modern, kind of like the Lego movie, whereas like this is utopian type of society, and then the character, which is and I didn't understand Black Panther too until I broke it down, was like, okay, Wakanda is this utopian type of society. One of the characters break out, and then
learn different things.
There's another character, Black Panther is Killmonger. For this one, it's possibly like, for guys like Ryan Gosling, Ken, or it's like Will Ferrell. Will Ferrell was also in Lego Movie, which I think is funny. Like, comes in and kind of brings outside idealistic kind of like ideals, and then change the utopia in a supposed to be a positive way. And so they were comparing that like Barbie's just another version of Black Panther, and I was like, I could see that. There's only so many there's only tropes that you know, the movie industry can kind of come up with, but the theme for me that I came in with, and this is me coming with no expectations, and I was telling you about this earlier, is identity and validation.
Yeah,
especially,
no, I like these themes.
Yeah, with at least with like women, men, it doesn't quite even matter. I don't want to make it to a whole like gender thing, but we constantly feel like we have to validate everything about us. Like, I have to give myself permission to be upset. I have to give myself permission to even be happy.
Yep.
You know, I have to give a whole list of why I deserve happiness right now. And that was America's, I don't know her name in the show, but that was her whole vent, or her whole, like, monologue near the end. It was like, we always have to be this, and
the
that.
mom.
Yeah.
Oh, which was so cool, too.
Yeah.
Like, that did speak to me too. It's like, and it was all opposing everything. It's like, you have to do this, but then you also have to do this, and you can't say this, but you have to do this, and they were all opposing each other. She did it really well.
Yeah, oh my gosh, she did amazing. She deserves an Emmy for that.
Yeah.
But that was one of the themes that I noticed, where it's just like, we constantly feel like we have to have permission to do anything. And I know you said that the end felt a little bit drawn out, but I think the end
I felt like it was
really,
so drawn out.
Yeah, solidified that like theme for me, because at the end she's holding on to, I forgot her name,
the old lady,
but she's the creator of Barbie. Like, she named Barbie after her daughter, all that jazz. Like,
is that the real person?
No, she's dead.
Okay,
respectfully.
It was not real.
But I know, I was thinking that too, but I was like, no, Barbie was made in like the 1920s.
But is that true that she named Barbie after her daughter? That's a true thing?
Barbara.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cute.
And the thing with Barbie too is revolutionary, where Barbie, and they said this in the beginning, girls only played with baby dolls. Barbie was actually the first thing, like the first doll that was like a woman.
An adult.
So many people protest Barbie, because and this is when I knew I'm gonna like this movie, is when Margot Robbie came out, and she was actually dressed as the original Barbie. That was the original Barbie, that
the striped.
And then like it was looking through the side, and so that was actually the original Barbie that was first like brought out. It was her in a swimsuit, and that was like a huge thing. And there's actually so many people protesting against that,
because she saw her ankles.
It's too scandalous. It's too scandalous for the girl.
Too many legs.
Yeah. But that's when I knew, I was like, okay, I'm gonna like this movie. I don't know, just like little details like that. And again, when I like something, I kind of get really into it, so I kind of knew. I was like, oh shit, that's actually the first.
I like that though, because I was confused that entire first scene. I was like, what is happening?
Because it's paying homage to the first actual Barbie.
Good.
I was like, this is
that's cool.
And she did it on purpose. She did it on purpose because she noticed her daughter just had baby dolls to play with, and why?
And that was like solidifying mom and very like one role women kind of a thing, which I totally like agree. Like, there should be other roles, and not every woman has to be a mom. Like, but if you do like baby dolls, great. If you don't, great. Like,
options,
either way,
essentially.
options. Yeah, exactly.
But near the end, when she was like holding on to, I forgot her name, but her last name is Mattel, like holding onto her hands, and she was saying, "Can I be a human now?" And then I guess, I love how she looked at her and was like, girl, did you not, the whole movie was just, you don't have to ask me for permission, just do it.
Yeah.
You know, like, even at the end, when like the whole, again, my main theme was like validation, right? We constantly feel like we have to be validated. And her just looking at Barbie like, do whatever you want. You don't, even though I created you, you don't need my permission to do whatever you want.
Yeah.
You can just do it.
But I also think, interestingly enough, like, both Barbie and Ken had that theme, and it went in two different directions. Like, Ken's theme was, like, in the beginning, he was not validated at all. And honestly, Barbie was a little mean to him. Like, she kind of created the monster.
Yeah.
But, like... And he was sad, and then he goes to the new world and gets all this validation.
Yeah,
like,
too much validation.
Too much validation.
Yeah.
And I think that shows you the opposite side of it. Like, you don't need to validate yourself, and you also don't need external validation either, because that can also create a monster.
Yeah.
So it's like, I got that side of it as well. So I think that was creative.
Yeah.
Showing the two different sides of it for sure.
The only person where I was like questioning like why were they here was Will Ferrell.
Oh.
No, I liked Alan.
I loved Alan.
I really liked Alan.
Was Alan real?
Yeah, he's a real doll. They didn't like him though. He was like a doll from the 1960s that was a part of the Beach series, and he was generally like he was treated.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I thought there was more names than just Ken. I also thought there was more names than just Barbie, but apparently I'm wrong.
I don't know about that. I know there's so many variations of Barbie, and I generally think they took homage and they, except for Weird Barbie, I feel like they made up Weird Barbie, but I think they really did, like took different versions of Barbie and then put them in the movie.
Makes sense.
Because there are like the outfits that they wear were like actual recreations of like, Barbie dolls.
I recognized them.
Which is so funny. I never had a Barbie doll in my life, and I know so much about Barbie facts. But right? Don't you think? Okay, now I'm like reflecting. I was like, why do I know so much about Barbie? But with Ken and Barbie, I was saying this earlier, where for me, when I was watching the movie, I feel like how the director took it, and I don't know if this is how the director was trying to make us see it, but they're akin to each other, where their issues are the same. They lack a sense of like identity.
Yep.
Barbie is traditional Barbie. She's not President Barbie. She's not yoga Barbie. She's not whatever Barbies that were there. There were so many. And Ken he's just Ken. He's just Beach.
He's Beach.
Like he said it all the time.
Not
like,
even a lifeguard.
Yeah. And his whole personality revolves around Barbie.
Right.
Like they said in the beginning, where it's like Ken doesn't have a good day unless Barbie smiles at him.
Yep.
And so he's so, therapy would call it enmeshed. But like he's so enmeshed with Barbie that it's just he's Barbie and like he's Barbie and he's no one else without her.
Yep.
And I think Barbie struggles with the same thing, just in a different way. Where Barbie is just Barbie. Like she's just a pretty traditional Barbie.
Right.
And while everyone else kind of have like a role, have like a sense of like, what am I doing every day? She's just kind of like, I wake up and I do this and that's all I do. I'm not a president. I'm not this. I'm not that. Right. And their journey was to honestly find a sense of self. You know? I think like what the director said, like, we learn about ourselves through playing with Barbie. Barbie learned more about herself through going to this modern, going to the real world and seeing how it actually is. And Ken did too, just in two different ways. Yeah. Yep.
And it's also interesting too, it's like the support and like friendship aspect in the beginning of the movie. It's like the females really congregated together and had such a big support system, and the males didn't. Like the Kens were always fighting against each other until
the breakdown,
the middle, I guess, when they became patriarchy, and then they were finally a united supporting front. But then they went back to fighting at the very end. Which I love that. I feel like that song was so fun. The Ken, and I think the Kenergy is now a thing.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure what that means. I'm Knuff.
Yeah.
I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, that's hilarious.
That was his character arc. That was when he realized he was like, okay, I don't have to be this hyper masculine or this caricature of what a man is. I can just be enough as well.
Right.
I think it's just, it depicted two different journeys. You know?
Yeah, it did.
And I think it's normal for, if someone is so enmeshed with someone, they lack such a sense of identity, and they feel so powerless, because that's what the Kens really felt at Barbie. They're gonna latch to something, it's natural, it's almost human instinct to just latch to something that makes you feel validated. And that was for them patriarchy.
Right. Which is fair.
And yeah, I know it's controversial. I know a lot of people are saying this, and that about the movie, but at the end of the day, I think it just also depicts normal human behavior and development. You know, when someone is, when I say this with grace, like emotionally mature, which Ken was, you know, and they find something that where they feel belonging and they feel validated, they're gonna latch onto it and try to bring it back to their peoples.
And our history has shown that that's real. Yeah. And it can go very badly.
Yeah, and the movie went badly, you know? And I think it's, at the end of the day, too, something that the girls were taught is that it's about balance, you know? It's like, we have, because that's what Barbie kind of went on, where, like, she took acknowledgement, like, yeah, I did treat you like crap in the beginning.
I was so angry the whole time. I was like, Barbie, what are you doing? Yeah. I'm also a romantic, though, so I was really upset that in the end they don't end up together. Yeah. I thought that maybe she would have, like, realized and then been like, you know what, maybe we can make this work, and, like, it'd become, like, more equal partners, and that maybe, like, Barbie Land was gonna change to, like, Doll Land or something. Like, make it, like, legit equality. It didn't, and I was like, well, that's kind of unfortunate. I'm also just a romantic, so it made me sad that they didn't end up together.
Yeah. I actually don't remember exactly what happened to Ken.
I don't think they talk about it. Yeah. Because I think I've heard they want to make a Ken movie.
I think that'll be a big hit.
I think so, too.
Ken carried that movie.
I loved Ken.
Margot Robbie. I thought it was hilarious. I think she's stunning, but without him.
No, he was hilarious.
But they needed each other. Like, that's the point, too, of, like, Barbie was, like, you can't have Barbie without Ken. Well, you can't have Ken without Barbie.
Yeah, but I almost feel like, I guess this is the opposite point of what the movie was trying to make, but I really did think Ryan Gosling was a huge, like, big hit in that movie. And, like, did not carry it completely, but, like, had a huge weight in it. And, like, I really liked him in it, and I thought it was, like, really, he was funny. Like, I don't know, I just really enjoyed it.
I think it's, without him, it would be too straightforward. With, you know, again, both of them, Barbie and Ken, were dealing with the same issue, but they took it 2 different ways to solve their issues. Right. And yeah. Yeah.
I also feel like it like does touch on like the perfectionism and pressure of being perfect for Barbie. Yeah. Because when she started to feel imperfect, it crumbled her. Like she went into a depression, and it showed like how debilitating that can be, very lightheartedly. Yeah. Like it just kind of like sprinkled a little bit of like, you know, feeling like you can't move, feeling like you can't do anything. And I feel like that does touch a little bit on like the depression aspect of things, and how much like feeling like you don't know who you are, or feeling like you need to be something else and you're not, really can affect people. And how much it can drag you down.
Yeah, I get that. And the same thing with like the mom. Yeah. Right? Where, like, she was... That's why Barbie was feeling these things. Was because, like, she was kind of going back and trying to relive, like, the good times. Because she was finding herself in a dead-end job. You know? Her and her daughter weren't doing well, like, relationship-wise. Yep. And I think it's... I don't know. It's getting emotionally vulnerable with yourself and admitting yourself when you're not okay. Yeah. You know, and rather than trying to act like everything is fine.
Right. Yeah. Right. Which is interesting because, like, and another thing, too, is, like, talking about life transitions. Like, Barbie always wanted things to stay the same, but that's not realistic. And, like, if there's one constant in life, it's change. There will always be change. And, like, I feel like this comes up in therapy all the time, whether it's, like, parents that are dealing with change, whether it's the kids that are dealing with change, whether you're just an individual dealing with change, like, it's scary and people don't like it, and they fight hard to try to make it stay the same, and that doesn't work. Like, Barbie sitting there trying to bring everything back to the way it was doesn't work, and it didn't work, and ultimately she had to figure out that she had to make a huge change in order to be happy again. And I think it just goes to show the, like, dealing with those changes and transitions and the fears and anxiety that comes with those things. Yeah. And having to fight through it instead of avoiding it.
Yeah. I think it's accepting it too. And yes, as you mentioned. Yeah, accepting that. And accepting that you're going to change and it's going to be okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And, like, if you can view change as a relatively positive thing, depending on the change, right? But at least find a positive in it. Like, you will succeed so much more than if you just want to stay where you are.
Yeah. I think it does speak upon, like, a lot of struggles that men and female kind of deal with. Whether it's change, whether it's self-esteem, whether it's identity, whether it's that validation.
Emotion.
Yeah. Why do you think the movie has been such a big hit? Aside from all the marketing, you know, aside from the drama that was done with, like, Oppenheimer and Barbie, you know?
I mean, I feel like it's a really big hit because it does touch on a lot of themes people connect to or feel like are real nowadays.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's obviously a huge feminism aspect to this that I think people, especially girls, like and want to see more in movies. I feel like it does, like, personally touch upon, like, some of the negative aspects, though, because, like, basically the movie was a representation of the opposite of what is going on in real life. Like, where in the movie the men are lower, and then I feel like it could be an eye-opening opportunity for guys who watch the movie to be like, oh, that's how they feel. Like, to get the female representation of what life is like for us now, or like what it's like in real life versus, you know, this movie. But I also feel like it warns against, like, in my opinion, going too far with it, because we're just as bad if we end up being like the Barbie movie in the beginning. Like, at that point, it's gone too far. Yeah. And it's not equality anymore. It's like superiority. Yeah. We're all fighting for superiority, but that's not the point, in my opinion. But those who like that point will like this movie.
Yeah. I think they do a really good job, and the reason why people lean towards more towards it takes fairly heavy topic and translate it to the public in a lighthearted, campy way. Yes. Where
it was fun.
If you were, I don't want to continue on with the drama, whatever, but with Oppenheimer, it's right in your face. It's morbid. It's sad. It's dark, and it's heavy. With Barbie, because they kind of parallel, it's very existential as well. Both movies are very existential. Barbie takes that existentialism and just try to translate it through a dance sequence, and it's much more palatable for people. Yes. You know, and also it's more appropriate for younger audience too. Yes. And they're able to, and I think too is like someone like kind of like me coming in thinking that it's just gonna be like life size, and then actually being like, oh, it's getting philosophical. You know, it's almost like a nice surprise. You know, so I think that's why Barbie has been doing really well with it, because it does take, you know,
big topics.
Because at the end, too, is like when they're having a dance sequence and they're like, have you ever thought about death? And everyone's just like, what? You know? But that's when you know she's kind of breaking a little bit. But it's like things like that. But I think that's why the movie, one, people can stomach it better. And not saying that Oppenheimer you can't stomach it, but like it's dark, you know? And also it's
for a very particular audience as well, where Barbie is a lot more like it's wider.
Yeah, it's very particular, but it's more lighthearted.
Yes. Yeah. It's particular, but, like, in a broader way, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. And the marketing went crazy.
Yeah,
like I said, now really that when I see pink, I think of Barbie, which is so crazy. Yeah. So crazy.
I mean, I feel like I've always... I guess not, but I've always liked the color pink. Yeah. But I've also liked Barbie, so...
Yeah. I think, yeah.
But I think at the end of the day, like... similar to like what we've talked about before, but like a positive self-talk or like a positive mindset goes a long way. And I think that's something that they learn throughout the movie too, is like eye-opening, but also like how do we see a positive here rather than staying the negatives. Like a lot of it was pretty like therapeutic if you see it in that sense, but I don't know if the general public will see it that way unless you're like a therapist and you see it that way. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, her whole, like, journey is essentially, like, living in a unrealistic, right, like, idealistic, unrealistic mindset, then going through, like, the transition, the sadness, the depression of realistic things. Yeah. Then trying to find, like, a positive outlook to it and knowing that things are scary. Like, when she does become human, it's like, the woman is, like, know what you're asking for first. Feel it. Like, it's about feeling these emotions, even if they're scary, even if they're negative, and like being okay with it.
You know what, the word I'm thinking of in my head right now? It's surrender.
Yeah,
Generally just surrendering yourself, which just sounds like a scary thing, because
it
surrender sounds, or a way you can interpret that word, is giving up, but that's generally what Barbie did. She just surrendered. She just gave herself permission to do whatever, feel whatever, and be whatever she wants. And that's terrifying, because people can see it as giving up, or people can just
losing control.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's almost the opposite. Like, you're gaining control. Like, if you're starting to focus on the correct things, which is yourself, you gain control. You don't lose it, though it may feel like you are.
Yeah. It's one of those things that, like, thoughts are thoughts, feelings are feelings. Thoughts and feelings are not facts.
Are not facts.
I say that to all of my clients all the time. You probably get annoyed by me.
Feelings are just feelings, and thoughts are just thoughts, and you don't have to act or think or, you know, do anything about them. Like, they're not right. They're not always correct. We all have really weird thoughts. We all have weird feelings. Doesn't make it factual. Doesn't make it rational. Yeah. I think there's a lot of growth and stuff, too, that the movie portrays. Learning, growth, on both ends.
It's funny because she puts in so much work on trying to grow, but then one of the main themes that I felt, and, like, things that they were trying to explain to her, was that you don't have to do anything.
Right.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
Have you ever felt like...
You can just be...
Yeah, had people like that. Just, like... If I had to do all these things in order to be happy, I was like, you can just be happy.
Right.
Like, it goes back to that validation piece. We always feel like we have to be validated.
Yep. And there's like there are things about achieving that is good, right? Like, if you're achieving good things, but your achievements, don't compare them to everyone else's. And I think that was a thing too. Like, she was comparing herself to, like, all these other people that had very specific roles, but like, her achievements are her own thing on her own timeline. And that's another thing I think gets brought up with clients a lot too, is like, your timeline does not have to look like your neighbor or your brothers or your parents or your
this
friends.
Made up timeline that we had in our head.
This made up timeline or this made up what achievement looks like. Like, you don't have to be a doctor to achieve something. You don't have to you don't have to get a PhD, you don't have to get a master's, you don't have to go to college. Like, there are other ways of achieving your goals, and there are other ways of feeling validated that, you know, is your own thing. And I think that's partly it too. It's like figuring out, like, what is my journey and what does that look like, and it can be different.
Why do you think the daughter was there in the movie?
Oh god, I feel like she may have just been there for people to identify with or feel like, I agree with her, you know, like,
I think she's a very modern take of, like, what Barbie is. I think, I guess in that generation, they would kind of see Barbie more as a suspicious,
you know, I
figure.
think she was like a Gen Z groupthink character to everyone to be like,
those are the two. I was like, why are they here? It was Will Ferrell, which I understand what they were trying to portray. Like, oh, it's a Barbie franchise that's catered towards women, but all the higher ups are guys. And I was like, I thought they would do more with that narrative.
Same.
But it was more, it became a comedy relief.
But also Will Ferrell's, like, he wasn't, I thought he was going to be bad, but he wasn't.
He just,
it was confusing.
He wanted,
I was like, wait, but, like, that's not a bad thing that he just said. And then I was like, I get the whole, like, it's all men doing it, but at the same time, it's like, he was for the girl, though. Kind of. He was also for money, which is fair.
Maybe it was
all companies
capitalism aspect. I think there was a lot of running things that some of the stuff they kind of dropped the ball on, but they wanted to be there because they know that some people might question it. Like Will Ferrell's character, he got paid a lot of money too.
I'm not
for something
surprised.
So small. He's also paid as much as, like,
He's a big actor, though. I know. I don't think he would have been paid as much if it wasn't Will Ferrell. I mean, like, it's who you're...
When I saw him, I was like, why is he here? I'm sorry, I was like, why is he
here? For people
to
watch the movie. I feel like it really goes into what actors are you portraying. Like, the whole money thing, it's like, if you want a low-budget movie and not pay a lot of people, then low-budget actors. At the end of the day, you could have put somebody else in that role and not paid them as much money because it's not Will Ferrell. But, like, Margot Robbie, Ryan Gosling, Will Ferrell, these are big-ass names. Like, that you're going to pay them a lot of money because they're big names.
They're gonna bring a lot of people in.
And they're going to bring a lot of people in.
True.
Will Ferrell maybe not as much. I didn't even know he was in it.
He got paid a lot for that movie.
I mean, he is a well-known actor.
But I didn't know it was, like, that well-known, you know? But his character, like, I understood. Again, it was to show how men run a business that was fairly female catered towards. Mm-hmm. And then the whole money aspect, I just felt like they did just kind of... They introduced it and just left it
and
there.
then
You got cold.
Goodbye. Yeah. I was confused. My favorite part about the movie is I was watching it with Jack, and all the office men were, like, on the bicycle. 28 minutes later, they show up. I was like, during the whole fight scene, I was like, where are the businessmen who were, like, 30 minutes ago on their way? What? Yeah. They were on the last leg 30 minutes ago. Yeah. And I was like, where are they? And it literally, the minute I said, where are they showed up. Mm-hmm. But I was like, there's a whole scene thing where they were not there.
I thought they were going to start some stuff when they get there. But they really just came in and was just like, hey, you guys, I just want to make my money. Do whatever you have to do.
Right. Well, maybe that was the point then. Maybe it was like businesses are just about money, and they'll sell you whatever they need to sell you or do whatever you need to do in order to make money.
Yeah.
Which I understand why, though. That's a business. That's kind of how it works.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, money rules the world, and if you don't make money, you lose. So I don't see the negative in there.
Yeah. There was a lot of representation within the movie, and there was a lot that you can, like, pick at and dive in and try to, like, say, oh, this meant this meant that, especially how the movie was portrayed.
I feel like it meant a lot. There's a lot of meanings in there.
Yeah.
Whether or not we're getting it correct, but...
Yeah, even the idea of, like, the black Barbie was president.
Yeah.
You can say something about that.
Girl. Black.
Yeah.
President.
Yeah. But how do you feel? Did you feel like the movie was representative? Like, it had enough representation in the movie?
No.
Really? With everything we talked about, there's a lot that we can pick from.
I feel, well, there's no LGBTQ plus IA, whatever all that is, right? Mm-hmm. There wasn't that, which is interesting. I really thought there would have been. Mm-hmm. Though that wasn't maybe the point of the movie, but I feel like that was lacking. Besides the Asian Ken guy, was there another Asian
I
Barbie?
Maybe I saw one glancing.
But she wasn't main.
Yeah.
I feel like there could have been better body image representations. There was one...
You could say plus size.
Plus-sized. Yeah. That was about it. Mm-hmm. Like, I just feel like that's what was interesting to me. I was like, you're making all of these statements with people that are... And maybe that was the point, though. Now that I'm thinking about it, maybe that was the point, that Barbie is supposed to look this very specific way, and that's why the Barbies looked like that, because that's how they were made. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, we don't need to do that. But they didn't really say it in that sense. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I don't know. That's just something I thought of.
Yeah.
What about you? Do you think it was representative? You probably have better insight on that than I do.
Really? I did read that there was one trans Barbie that was there.
Oh, I didn't even notice.
And
how would I notice? Yeah. How would you know?
I couldn't point out, like, which one was the trans.
Did it say?
I think, don't get me wrong, watch, you'd be like, no, I'm a cis female. But she was, I can't tell you.
So was it a trans actor?
Yeah, apparently, like, she's a trans actor, and she was playing a trans Barbie. Apparently, allegedly, now after we watched the movies, watch me be all wrong, there was no LGBT representation.
Okay, so maybe I'm wrong on that, but I just didn't know.
Yeah.
It's not widely, I guess the point is for it to not be, I don't know, it's kind of confusing.
I think it's one of those things where, like, I think people walking in, you can nitpick anything, because Barbie's so universal, and Barbie's so multifaceted.
Yeah.
You know? You can look at Barbie and say, oh, this is going to be a body positivity movie. Mm-hmm. You can look at Barbie like me as like, oh, this is going to be some silly, she's a Barbie that turned human, and she's going to, learn that being a woman here is tough. Like, take a feminist type of, like, women empowerment type of mentality. Or you can take it with Barbie. She's a blonde-haired white woman. That's what, beauty standards are. Like, you can take Barbie so much, and I think it's going to be very hard to make things representative and encompassing for everyone.
No, that's true. I was just about to say
how
that.
our society is now.
Yeah.
It's very much like, I want to see me, which is fair, which is okay.
It's so hard, though.
But it's hard, yeah.
Yeah.
While making sense of the movie. Because I think that's why I was like, it is very multifaceted. That's why I was like, okay, what's the point of Will Ferrell's like character? What's the point of like the daughter's character? Because if there are themes, I know we named one of them. The main one is women empowerment.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Yeah.
And that being said, too, LGBT, like, that's a part of LGBT. Don't get me wrong, but that's why I'm curious to see. I wanted to know your take, because there's some people was like, yeah, there wasn't enough representation, but I genuinely think they did the best they could.
I think they did the best
in
they could.
the 2-hour movie with like the plot that they had.
Yeah,
that made sense.
Yeah, and I mean, like, my original answer was like no, but I also don't agree with having to always have every single thing in every single movie,
because that's so simulating.
It's a lot, and it's like.
And it
seems forced.
It's performative.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think they did everything in a tasteful manner and try to have representation.
And it wasn't forced.
As much as, yeah.
Yeah.
Because if there was...
All
watch at the end, we're going to do like a clip like, there was no trans. But if there was a trans, like, Barbie, it was like, okay, that was... They didn't make a big...
deal. Or,
like, this is it. There's a they just...
Yes. No, I agree.
There.
I do agree with that, because I do... not love when it feels very forced.
You can tell when it's forced, too.
You can so tell when it's forced.
Yeah.
So that's a good point. I take back my original statement. It didn't feel forced, and I like that.
Yeah.
Interesting. I feel like there's just so much that can go into this, like, movie, and,
But when it comes to the mental health piece, I think, at the end of the day, one, it did highlight how community really helps you.
Yes.
You know, whether it's male or female,
Mm-hmm.
having a strong community helps your mental health. We're social creatures at the end of the day.
Yes.
Yes, I tell clients at the time, it's like a 50-50, where it's like, yes, a little bit of it, half of it is your own self-introspection. That's you going to the jungles and meditating under a tree and figuring out who you are. But the other half is you learning about yourself through other people.
Yeah.
I think that was really highlighted with the whole women empowerment, girl power, but not just like girl power, but like women power, like we're stronger together. Validation piece is like, you don't have to over explain yourself, you know, you don't have to give yourself a long list of reasons why you deserve to be happy at this spot, you know,
right, or
you
seek external validation.
Because I feel like that's a lot of individuals struggle with that. It's like they feel like they have to give permission for them to, like, oh, this idea like there's people struggling right now and my problems doesn't mean anything because I have everything. It's like, you're still stressed, and that's still valid. Yes, there's people in different circumstances, but let's say this too, is there's going to be people happier than you. That's going to have more than you. I call this like an oppression Olympics. Like, you're always going to find something to invalidate how you feel. And I feel like, especially with anxiety would take that and just run with it. And make it bigger and bigger.
Yep.
And that's a huge piece. I think that's why a lot of people felt heard. It's like, oh my gosh, I go through the same struggle, especially with women, with the standards that we have to live in, or whatever, or even males. You know, the idea of like, I have rock hard abs and all that stuff.
Yeah, I feel like it did, like, at least touch on a little bit of, like, the male ideology and role and, like, right now. Because, like, I like to think that I'm, like, very unbiased, and I feel like men's body image is not talked about enough, because you don't have to look like The Rock.
Well, the song, the one of the lyrics literally says, like, I'm just Ken, everywhere else I'll be a 10. But in Barbie land, because everyone's so perfect, he's like, I'm Beach.
Yep.
But if he goes to the real world, he's Ryan fucking Gosling. Of course he's a 10.
He's
you know? So...
But his I mean, I say you don't need rock hard abs, but damn. I was like, stay shirtless forever.
Yeah, dude, the whole movie he was shirtless.
I love that.
I think so.
No, except for when he was a cowboy. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. But there was a scene where he took off his little thing and he was just wearing, but yeah, even for guys struggle with it too. Like, they feel like they have to
go to the gym and be
or
this
like,
guy.
I have to learn how to change my oil in order to be considered a man.
Right.
Whatever, right?
Yeah.
I mean, as someone who doesn't even know how to do that, it's like, you don't.
Right.
You know? That's what we see a lot. And I think they did portray it in a nice way.
Yeah.
And then it's one of those things where it contradicts of, like, being knuff, but it's like America's little spiel. That's so opposite. We have to do this, but you can't do this. You have to be loud, but not too loud. Like, the standards that we put in ourselves. Sometimes it's a social thing. Sometimes it's almost like a self-induce
Yeah.
stressors. Like, there's really no such thing as really enough.
Right.
You know, there's really no such thing as being being right, because there's always something to contradict yourself. You can always play devil advocate with yourself.
Always.
I think I
It's
see a
losing
lot
game.
of people gaslighting themselves.
Yeah.
It's weird, right? They always talk about, like, yeah, this person gaslighted me. But I was like, girl, you're gaslighting yourself right now by saying that it's not a big deal.
Right.
But you're, like, emotional with me right now. I feel like what the movie highlighted that a lot. And I think that's why people felt hurt. And that's why, again, they took it and they translated it in a way that was laughable.
Yes.
Because they just over-exaggerated everything.
And easily digestible, like you said.
And you're just like, okay, I'm not crazy. You know?
Yeah.
So
overall, I liked it.
I have recommended the movie for some clients.
Yeah.
I was like, watch this movie, and then I want you to replay America's, like, monologue 10 times.
In your head, right?
Yeah. Because it's so true. Guys go through it, girls go. It's not a gender thing. It's not even just an age thing. I feel like maybe it's a social thing, but it doesn't matter how old you are. You always have to feel the idea of, like, being, am I doing everything correctly in my own standards, and in addition to social standards.
And I wonder if, like, because I know that this was very much, like, attentive on more, like, the female women, like, side of things, but like you just said, like, men go through this too. Like, I wonder if they do make a Ken movie, if they'll kind of go through something like that, where, because guys feel like they have to be tough but not emotional, but you're allowed to have emotions but not too many emotions. Like, you're allowed to be upset but you can't cry all the time. Like, they go through that too. And it's like, it's just a different way.
It's another stigma. I think it's a different stigma that guys have to go through.
It is a different stigma. You have to be tough, but not too tough.
Yeah. But that's his whole, like, awakening near the end. Where he was like, I don't know what he said, but he's like, I'm a changed man, I know that crying's okay.
Yeah.
You know? And that's a whole, like, Knuff and all that stuff, and, like, Kennedy. And yeah, he just got through the breakdown, like, song sequence. But, and I think, too, is, like, he finally got connected with the boys.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like,
the support system that he needed.
Yeah.
In a way.
It shows for women, for men. It doesn't matter who you are. Even for animals, whatever. We're social creatures. We need peoples.
Yeah, it's all evolutionary.
Yeah.
Overall, I feel like the Barbie movie does... I do think the shoe fits.
Yeah.
Like, enough.
Yeah. I think if you...
It fits enough.
Yeah, if you take a breath and kind of... Not trying... Like, if you take a breath and just kind of take away the political statements of the movie with the idea of, feminism and patriarchy, but just kind of take it with a grain of salt and just try to see the big overall pictures of why they might be mentioning these two things. You know, and how... Again, I think I told you this. I took it more of allegories, so of, like, okay, this is kind of overcasting the actual meaning of it. They're just using it as a platform to exacerbate, like...
They're using the buzzwords. Buzz.
And just take it a breath. I was like, okay, aside from that, and I get it's going to be hard because
it
is such a big buzzword, is like, I think anyone, male or female, if you take everything with a grain of salt, because it's a Barbie movie, it's still Barbie, it's still a doll, so take everything with, like...
It ain't that intense.
A comedy grain of salt.
Yes.
And not take everything too seriously. I think it can speak to male or female. I know people are phrasing this movie as a women empowerment movie, but I saw actually, it was so funny. The people who invited me to watch the movie were guys.
Nice.
Because I don't know why. But I said yes because I just wanted to hang out with my friends.
Yeah.
But I watched it with one of my friends. There we go, with Fred and his girlfriend. And I could hear my friend scream in laughter because he just saw, like, some guys are silly like that. I have met guys who played, like, one chord of the guitar and then sang, like, one song that they're good at. But it's just... It's campy, it's fun, it's supposed to be those things, I think if you take it with a grain of salt, you can take that message and try to imply it for yourself, that we're going to be okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for listening and or watching. I think overall we've mentioned it does fit.
Yeah.
I think that's what we were saying.
I think
so. Okay.
Yeah.
And we appreciate all the love and the support and listening all the way through. Thank you, and we'll be back next month. So stay tuned for more.
Okay. Thank you.